Confusion was on my head till I learned that God made me to be responsible and free. No more lies, no more pretending. Now my life is just beginning. We're making new, and it's all because you'll be so free. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, thank you for joining us this morning for Universal Dimensions of Leadership. Alhamdulillah, we just aired yesterday's recording of Jumu'ah Live from Masjid Wartheen here in Oakland, California. And alhamdulillah, Saturdays we always follow up and add to and serve up some of those leftovers if we need to. You know how them leftovers can be pretty good after it gets, like you say, marinated overnight. All right, so you're welcome and invited to call in with your comments, your feedback, and suggestions for continuations in the subject, inshallah. All right, is this my brother Dante?
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, brother, man.
Alaikum assalam. What's going on, man? What we gonna do about them Sixers, bruh?
I mean, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. We can talk about the Eagles, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You might have to settle. You might
talk about them.
Yeah, you got. That's the football. Yeah, are y'all touching on the baseball piece since y'all in the World Series now? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Does that mean?
I mean, why not?
Well, because I was saying, I was in one of the times I was in New York, right, and in the Bronx, literally, specifically, and you could see Yankee Stadium from the place where the masjid was at the time, and it was the World Series, and man, there wasn't nobody in there at all excited about the World Series and Yankees in the World Series. So I don't know, we have a different relationship with baseball, it seems. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Go ahead, man. I'm being distracted.
No. Look, and you're a little bit older than me, but one of those things when you get older, you want to get your train of thought off, because if you don't, you're going to lose it, right?
I understand. Yeah, go ahead.
But again, just like so many things yesterday, listening to the Ummah, but I was like, when you talk about the self, when I was in the military, I remember I went through this training. They talked about you are three people.
Mm-hmm.
And they said you are who you think you are, who other people think you are, and who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had one of my soldiers tell me, you also are who you are striving to be.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
And I just thought that that was, such a powerful thing, and and just lining up with what you're talking about, like trying to understand who Allah intends for you to be is what we should be striving for, and everything else is just fake news, I guess. You know what I mean? And so I'm really excited to hear your continuing thoughts and explanations on the self. But my question was about I'm trying to think of. I know you said you're going to expound on it, on the mental health aspect. Will you be able to like touch on it like from a Kanye perspective, if you will, right now?
Oh yeah.
Save that for another day.
I mean, he's naturally in it, and I am paying attention to that. I mean, it's like I am paying. I am. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at it. I'm paying attention to it. And I mean, right now, how can you say an unwashed statement that I say, says like unrefined, a draft, rough kind of statement of a key aspect that relates to him. I'm not trying to get into it. I'm not inviting people to get into it. I'm mentioning it because it really bears some putting it under the microscope. Really, right? It should not be dismissed. It should not be dismissed. Nigga crazy. No. And it shouldn't necessarily be fully embraced because there seems to be so much daring in what he's saying. But the one thing that comes to mind right now that I would say to the public is, the Prophet, peace be upon him, he said war is strategy, right? And strategy is not telling everybody what you're gonna do. So it's like if you out there telling we're gonna blow up this bridge at 5:00 tomorrow, it's like, okay, that's a problem, right? So you don't, one of the key things, whatever it is you do, you don't throw out your strategy, and so that's just one piece. That's a kind of a glaring thing in terms of that. But in terms of the mental health aspect, it's like it's really clear. It's very, very serious. So we're coming. I've already said that the upcoming election, that the election year, I mean, we're at midterms right now. Obviously, November is midterm elections. So it's a big deal because the swinging of who's going to be controlling the Senate, blah, blah, blah. And let me say, even as I say that, I don't have that quote in memory, but Carter G. Woodson, I believe it is, that says, like, look, whoever didn't understand that you need to take care of yourself before the governmental authority changes, if you didn't know that before, it's not going to make any difference after the governmental authority changes, because you still are responsible to do the thing you should have been doing before the governmental order changed, right? So it's like a different person in the White House is not necessarily going to make a difference to you where you are if you don't really understand what is really involved in, self-establishment or your destiny, right? Your personal destiny in the world. You're supposed to be taking care of yourself anyway, not waiting for the government to take care of yourself, no matter white, black, whoever. And so that's that kind of thing. Either Carter G. Woodson or Frederick Douglass, one of them. Any case, so we'll get back to that. Those are very powerful, important subjects of the day. And that's good because it stirs people to think and reflect and, and get active in one way or the other, So it's an awakening moment. So we do have to pay attention to that.
Yes, but like you said, we got Al-Islam, we got Prophet, we got Allah.
Oh yeah.
Imam Muhammad, we got you. We got all of that. Depression, anxiety, all of that stuff is not even,
Yeah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Believe as I come to believe, that none of that stuff worries me. I just
that's good.
Continue to strive to get as much as I can with what you have to offer and what intuitively and what I study and Allah gives me and just keep it moving.
Amen. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, you have to.
As many people as want to listen as we can. So,
you have to.
Thank you, brother, man.
Thank you, Dante. And that also fits in. That also fits into the idea, just like when you're on an airplane, you got turbulence, and then if the face mask come down, the oxygen mask come down, it said first you put yours on. You put yours on, then you help somebody else. And that's how we have to be in this time. Make sure that you're straight. Make sure that you're stable. Make sure that you're anxiety free. Make sure that you are at peace, etc., and that your lights are on, right? Then you can help somebody. If you don't have that straight yourself, you can't help anybody else. So it's very important to maintain your own stability, your own clarity, your own peace, and then in that state, now you can help somebody else. We got brother Ron.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam. What's going on? I won't call you stranger because I've seen your number, brother. So you good? How you doing?
Oh, okay.
Right.
Just in a semi-state of depression.
Oh, my God.
I cannot believe that the Astros were up 5-0 and Philly got out of there with a win.
Oh, man.
That's very, very disturbing.
Okay.
So I don't know what the Astros. I thought this was definitely their year. But at any rate, I understand what you said about the situation with Kanye, and I'm not one of those people that think that what he said was, some stuff coming out of a crazy man's mouth. We have to unpack what Kanye had to say, and sort of take the like eating watermelon, eat the watermelon and spit out the seeds.
Spit out the seeds.
And also have to unpack another controversial figure who's doing a similar thing in a different way, and that's Charleston White. Charleston White is making an incredible amount of sense, and a lot of young people who are fascinated with the rappers are calling him all kind of names. And
that's the name. That's the first time I even heard that name. So you got to give me a couple of bars, I might say, about what's up.
Oh yeah, you have to Google him. He is he's out of Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, and he is just in going after the rappers and some of their privileged children, and just taking on the Crips and the Bloods, and I guess maybe including the Disciples and the Vice Lords, that whole gang thing culture, and how it's destroying our children, and people are calling him disrespectful, and then he got into this back and forth with Lil Boosie and T.I., and he takes the position that people got a lot of nerve calling him that he's disrespectful to rappers. And he said, and I won't use the colorful language he uses, but he said rappers are some of the most disrespectful people to the black woman that ever walked the face of the earth.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. You can't disagree with that.
Yeah, he's just, he travels all over the country and he is very controversial.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that aside, and yeah, I suggest you Google and follow him also.
Mm-hmm.
But also, what has developed is that this year in the awarding of the Nobel, not Peace Prize, Nobel Prize, that the winner of it in medicine and physiology is this scientist, Savant Table. I can't pronounce his name. It sounds sort of Nordic in some kind of way. But he won the prize in medicine and physiology by studying the ancient hominids strains that mixed with Homo sapien as he came up out of Africa, and mixed in a specific ancient hominid strain that he's following is Neanderthal. And he's been following the evolution of Neanderthal DNA as it mixed, and this admixture produced these people in the Caucasus region, who we now know as Caucasian, and it produced the new people. And then it's curious that these people mixed their blood. This admixture occurred in North America again, and it mixed with, in lesser amounts, with the Africans, and it produced African Americans, and that produced the new people. But it also suggests that I know we're all into this, race is a false construct, and speaking biologically it is, but at the same time, what he is suggesting, and it makes sense if you follow and graph out different parameters of culture behavior when you talk about violence with other people, when you talk about larceny with other people, and larceny in terms of other people's wealth, other people's land, other people's resources, that seems to suggest that there is, in fact, some kind of difference between these people, and I'm saying this tenderly and gingerly because I don't want to come off as some kind of race baiter or whatnot, but their own research suggests that there is a difference between these people, and if there is, in fact, a difference, and that difference is significant, and if we are to survive as a people, we need to strive to find out what that difference is, just as we would strive to find out the differences in any body that is meant trying to do us harm. Knowledge itself, and in a sense, knowledge of our enemy, because this whole thing is getting ready to just completely collapse as far as democracy. And their nature is coming out, and man, we're getting ready to see a lot of bloodshed. So I'm gonna stop right there. I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on the subject of what he won that Peace Prize on. So not the Peace Prize, it's the Nobel Prize. So I'll stop right there. Thank you, brother.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm definitely in accord with being in that research mode about that. And I'm in accord with not dismissing it with a knee-jerk response of whatever, dismissing it on the basis of anything other than a studied opinion. I'm saying everybody's going to have their opinion. Everybody's going to have their business. Mashallah, that's it. But the best one is not the one that's just based on how you simply feel about it, unless you have a background that can lead you to an intuition about it, meaning that there's a leap that comes upon the foundation of what you know, and therefore you say, okay, well, boom, then jump there. Okay, but you're jumping there from a foundation of information, as opposed to the way you've been socialized and the way you've been acculturated and the narrative that you've accepted, for which you don't have the background yourself. So I'm with looking into it. It's very, very, very important. Let me tell you what came to mind upon what you were saying about that. So what I'm hearing and what you're saying is that, and I'm speaking, Brother Ron, that there is some inborn, quote unquote, inborn, based from an evolutionary perspective, an inborn tendency in some human beings that lead them to behave in ways that how can you say, are not, let's call it, socially redeeming from the perspective of modern morality. I got to talk like this. So it's like, okay, you talked about some of the moral vices that someone may have or demonstrate, etc., and that there may be a physiological or biological foundation for it. And absolute that reality. Look, Quran 1784. Everyone acts according to the way that they've been socialized, right? So you have the whole nature nurture, right? You have, the inborn predispositions for something and the environmental impacts that shape and mold personalities. That's in the nature of life and creation. And yes, certain people, Imam has said much about this, rahimahullah. Certain people from certain regions have certain proclivities. It comes with the environment. Also, in that, what happens also in the true real. So whenever you hear the word evolution, don't think Charles Darwin. I know it's hard, but don't think, because Darwinian evolution, the way that they told us about Darwin, the way that they sold Darwin to us, leads us to think that monkey man, right? That the man is the missing link and all that. Just set that aside. That's not reality. Evolution is a reality, but man from monkey, and we just got to keep searching for the missing link, then it's all right. No. But now you can also, just like what Ron was alluding to, the issue of races, right? And we know that there's only the human race. That's true. All right. I have to learn that device. There's a memory device for whatever genus, species, phylum, blah blah blah, whatever that goes on. So there's stratifications, right? So it's like there's not only one kind of butterfly, there's not only one kind of ant, there's not only one kind of cat, right? So you got canines and felines, and then you got a whole distribution of, well, okay, this cat, Siamese cat, this cat is a lynx, and this cat is and the essential difference in the nature of this cat and that cat is this and that. Okay, what's the same way with human beings? While the false stratification of race, just purely based on color, right? That's a false category. But the nature of human life is such that the way that human beings, on the good way, and the good side of life, khayr and shar, right? On the good side of life, this habit, and properly so, of human beings is to create categories. That's the way we get through life. We create categories of thought. Even when we talk about, I gotta say it like this so you'll know that it's in there. And if you want to go deeper, you do that, right? Even the ideas of time and space, right? So it's like in America, we measure in inches by and large. And, in the British system, you're talking about centimeters and different things like that. Okay, are you measuring something different? Are you measuring something? You use a different way of measuring, but are you measuring, when you use that measurement system, are you measuring something different? Right? I understand the Egyptians, they used to have a 9-day week, right? We have a 7-day week now? Are you measuring something different? Right? So the point is to understand that human beings create categories of thought so that they can operate in space and time. So many of the things that we have as ways of thinking and paradigms for thought, etc., are designed, like the base 10 system, right? The decimal system, all those kinds of things. It's like these things, Euclidean geometry, etc. These things were created for the purpose of operating in life, right? But they are actually constructions that successfully serve a particular purpose, but they are they, quote unquote, really and actually, and is that the only way for those things to be? No, like I said, 9-day week versus 7-day week, right? So the idea is, but it's useful for the people who constructed it and for the people who live within that system to use that system so that they can make things happen. All right, I know I said a lot, but the point is this, or rather, and the point is this, that this race construction of black, white, yellow, brown, red, blah, blah, okay, the ones who are creating their world, the white supremacist dominated world, the color consciousness dominated world, they just said, okay, like the Wizard of Oz and the Richard Pryor thing, right? It's like, the color is green, the color is red, right? And everything just changes because that's what we said it was. Not because that's the reality, but that's in our world, that's what it's going to be. And as long as we are in charge of the world, we're the ones that control based on these categories of thought. That's what we're still under the domination of. We're still under the domination of that race-based consciousness, that color consciousness. That's what's dominating the world. It's false, but reality is whatever you have to react to. Slow down. What is reality? Whatever you have to react to. Now, if you don't have to react to black, white, brown, red, yellow, well, then it's not real. But do you have to react to that? Yes, you have to react to that. So what does it mean? It's real. But real in what way? Not in the haqiqi sense of the nature of reality, but it's a social reality. And do you live in society? If you live in society, then you have to react to it. All right. So it is a reality. But where did it come from? Someone constructed that reality. Who constructed it? The ones who had the power to be in charge of the world. The ones who, they said, okay, this is how it's going to be. That's the Wizard of Oz. Okay, this is how it's going to be. And until you have the power to change the, quote unquote, the socially instantiated narrative that is the domination, that dominates the psyche, mind, instrumentation, thinking, behavior, etc. of the people, until you can change that, then you're going to be living in that world. Roll all that back and put this in mind. No, there is only, pardon me. Yes, there is only one human race, but there are all types of human beings. Yes, there is only one human race, but there are all types of human beings. And some human beings are more inclined to this way, and others are more inclined to that way. And now let me take you into nature. Nature, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Let me see if I can. Inshallah, if Allah wills, then we'll bring it up. If not, mashallah, it just won't happen. Let's see. Let's see. It's something. What I'd like to do is be able to show you something if I can. If not, then I'll just have to. Yeah. No, I won't be able to show it, but all I can do is send you to. Oh, no. Okay. Okay. Blog Talk. Sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and share this. It's just it's a Microsoft document, but I want to read the science to you, and I want you to be able to read it at the same time that I'm presenting it. So I'm going to put the words. I'm going to put the words on the blog talk, not blog talk, on the screen. So if you're on one of the other platforms, one of the YouTube, Facebook platforms, then you can see what I'm talking about. All right. The Imam talks about the ganglia in his book Thoughts for Searchers, right? And so I'm saying this is connected with that. And what am I trying to describe? I'm trying to get us to understand, yes, there is only one type of human being from the Adamic point of view. There's only one human being, right? But there are different, quote unquote, types of human being because of the socialization. And you see that, in the Quran, when the Quran said, we created you nations and tribes that you might know one another, right? So it's like, just because to know one another, yeah, you can say, well, watch out for them. Them folks over there, they be like this, they be like that, right? Okay, I know you, right? But you're still a human being, but you are of a different tribe, a different type. Funny little statement that some people that I've heard said in my digging into things. They say all skin folks ain't kin folks. All skin folks ain't kin folks. We get that. You know how we used to say, "You're my color, but you're not my kind." Yeah, we used to say that, right? So the same way with human beings. You have human beings that behave in a certain way. So sometimes stereotypically we label a type of human being and we label the whole group. And that's a big problem from the modern philosophical political perspective right now, group guilt, right? So it's like, all y'all guilty, every one of y'all, right? That's weak thinking. Okay, but let's draw it in a little bit. So the point is, yes, there's only one human being in the macro sense. But then in the particular sense, there are different types of human beings that have different proclivities. One group is more inclined to this, another group is more inclined to that. One type, I should say, is more inclined to this, another is more inclined to that. Now, to talk about I wish I had another way. But for time's sake, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. You have some people that are more virtuous, some that are more vicious. Some that are more virtuous and some that are more vicious. Whether it be the group having that particular inclination or whether it be just individuals who are just prone to, one is more prone to virtue, another is more prone to viciousness. Even that there's some virtue in one and some viciousness in the other, but one has a preponderance of quote unquote viciousness and another has a preponderance of virtuousness. And so it is with different, even like, mashallah, I'm just trying, because we're talking about creation, right? So you have some dogs, you're going to have some dogs. This dog right here, make sure you handle it this way because he has a proclivity to be vicious when it comes to X, Y, Z, Z, Y, X, right? This one right here is more virtuous, right? So it's better to Caesar, the dog whisperer. You can learn a lot from the way he handles that, because while it's talking about animals at the physiological level, we are animals in that sense at the physiological level, but there's supposed to be the rider on the animal, which is our neocortex, our cognitive development, etc., to manage all of that. The language from the Islamic metaphysics point of view, it's like you have to control your jinn. If you don't control your jinn, then the jinn is in charge and it will use your intellect to serve its purposes, right? Okay, so So now, having said all that, everything in creation is a sign. See, there are animals that Allah has created, that Allah created all animals, of course, we know. Allah created all animals. So you got giraffes, gorillas, rhinos, elephants, wasps, cockroaches, caterpillars, butterflies. And Allah created all of that. And those understand, the universe is a textbook. The universe is a textbook. Yes, I've said it a third time. The universe is a textbook. So God wrote the creation. We call them ayahs. He wrote the creation just like we have textbook publishers who have authors to write the book. And then it's published, and then you get the textbook, you open it, and you read it, and That's what you do with the textbook. Well, that's what you're supposed to do with the creation. And let's just go with this design to analogy to understand more. So listen, if you pick up a medical textbook, right, and you look at the medical textbook, you're going to have some illustrations of disease and health, right? And it's like it kind of some of the diseases your nature is going, oh God, oh wow, oh, yeah. But you're here to learn medicine. So you need to know and recognize the disease and how it presents. All right, here's the disease. And then here's the health, right? And this is how you get from there to there. This is how you got from health to disease. Now you got to move from disease to health. So Allah has told the story of health and disease in creation, of khair and shar. Khair is the good, and shar is the quote unquote, the khair is the potential for excellence and good, and shar is the potential for harm and disease, right? That's in the nature of creation, because this life is a trial. So it's like, if God was good, everything would only be good. No. The reality is, this life, you just passing through. You only hear a minute. We only hear a minute, and it's a trial while we're here. And the favor of Allah is saying, look, watch out for this, because that's going to get you. Go with this right here, because that's going to benefit you. It's called guidance. Okay. So the creation, so when Allah says, Inna fi dhalika layatu liqawmin yatafakkarun, surely this is a sign for those who reflect. So you look at the nature of creation, and you're going to discover something about your quote unquote self as a human being. All right. And of course, you'll learn something also about yourself as an individual. All right. So in creation, Allah will give you lessons about how some human beings will be. And you get those lessons in predator and prey. That's just an example. Predator and prey, right? It's got to be either. I'm saying wherever there's a homonym, there's a synonym. So there's definitely a synonym between a homonym between prey and prey. P-R-E-Y, P-R-A-Y, right? And you can spend a lot of time working that out. So I one run real quick way I would say is, if you don't want to be prey, then you better pray, right? If you're in the habit of prayer, then inshallah that may protect you from becoming prey to this, that, or the other. But now the point is that you do have in nature, you have predator and prey. And there are certain creatures that are the, what do you call them? The natural born predators of this and natural born prey for that. Very, very rich lessons in that. But I'm not going to continue on that. The one I want to mention is, now listen, and the name of this creature The name of this creature is called a wasp. Hello. Was it called a wasp before there was white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, or were the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants called wasps because their behavior was like this creature? Which came first, the creature or the human label, right? I'm not trying to work that out. I'm just saying there's a matchup between the way that this wasp behaves towards its prey and the way the colonizers operate towards their prey. Why is there such a? I'm gonna tell you. I've had the picture up for some time. Some of you have been reading it. Let me give you the rest of it, because I will sooner or later, inshallah, I'll get around to it. But so the point is that the wasp is a natural creature. The wasp, that's the label that was given to it. That came from man. God created the wasp, and he created the cockroach. I think that's my model example here. God created both of them, and God put them into a relationship by his will as an ayah, as a chapter in the textbook of life. He said, look at this, look at how these two creatures interact with each other, and see where you are in this drama. Are you the predator or are you the prey? And God's statement is not a statement. God just tells you, or quote unquote, he just creates and puts it in front of you. Now, what you get from it is going to be based on what's in your heart, because there's some that say that will interpret it in a way that is not socially redeeming from a human perspective in terms of serving God, and others will interpret it again in another way, in a way that is more socially redeeming, right? Some may want to become the wasp, and some may want to help the cockroaches, right? So it's like, okay, how do I help cockroaches to avoid what the wasp does? And how can I get human wasp to stop acting this way on people that are prey to them? Now, if you understand the history, it's like it's always happening. The ruby wasp, whether it was whatever Asians acting in that role, or Caucasians acting in that role, or Africans acting in that role, there are times and places where human beings behave, whether it's inside a race, right? Interracial waspishness, right? Black on black crime, black selling drugs to other blacks and whatever. And, I'll go ahead and use the color scheme right now. So the point is, it's not just external, quote unquote, so-called color man against another color man, but you can go inside of those colors, just like the Protestants and the Catholics, and the way that the Irish were treated by the British or what have you. It's like, it's still the same cockroach wasp scenario, but it's just quote unquote, whatever, internal to Caucasianness. And let me hit this Caucasian piece real quick. The choice, and you get this from the sister Isabella Wilkerson in her book, The Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent, or something like that. She pointed out that even that label, Caucasian, is a false construct. When I say a false construct, it's an arbitrary construct chosen by the ones who were promoting this false, quote unquote, science of phrenology, like what Leonardo DiCaprio's character was bringing out in Django, right? The 3 dots in the back of the skull and blah, blah, blah. So phrenology was the idea that you can tell how intelligent, how good somebody was, whatever, on the basis of lumps and whatever that you find in the skull. Pseudoscience, false science, right? But believed by many, a construction that worked for people who wanted a white supremacist world. And so the point is that there wasn't even any skin on this particular skull type that who I don't remember the person's name, that was deciding that this was Negroid, Caucasoid, Asian, whatever language they used. The point is that person had just found a skull, literally. They had just found a skull and I believe the skull was found in the Caucasus Mountains. No Caucasus area. That was already named before the skull. And so seeing that it was in his view, aesthetically, it was the more perfect skull. So that skull was called Caucasian. And then that label was put on Europeans as we are the Caucasians. So meaning that we don't know what quote unquote skin color was on that skull, but it was just that skull, and the symmetry and the perfection and the smoothness of the skull said, well, then this should be us. And so the name Caucasian gets applied to Europeans without respect for the fact that was this person really a European? This thing but again, like the social constructs or like the categories of thought that are arbitrary in their initiation, but they're functional based on the system, just like inches and meters. They're functional inside the system that you control and that you are trying to build. They say everybody, just like dollar bills, right? Okay, why does dollar have any value? It has value because the government says it has value, right? But does it have any inherent value? No. But because there's a government that supports the value of it, now that's where the value comes from, the government support. Okay, that's where the Caucasian idea comes from, because you have a whole world instantiated to support these are the Caucasians. Well, who says so? The Caucasians. The Caucasians say so. Yeah, what you gonna do about it, right? So that's their world. Let's get on to this wasp and finish this up, because the message that I'm trying, and I hope I'm not too circuitous in trying to get to it, is that it's a valid point of plausibility when you understand that there are certain inherited features, literally, of the brain, right? I got to give you these names so you can at least hear it, and then you go study it, all right? The hypothalamus, the amygdala, the hippocampus, the neocortex, the limbic system, ganglia, as mentioned here, etc. These things are a part of the body. And evolution does impact based on where these people are and come from. I'm talking about even in the hood, maybe even especially in the hood. Like when you live with trauma and when you face anxiety in your environment on a consistent basis, evolution itself, adaptation itself will cause an organ in your brain to be enlarged or reduced based on whatever the nature of the circumstances are, in order to promote survival of whoever is constantly faced with those kind of environmental challenges or demands. Okay, so then what will wind up, and this happens geographically. So if you are from a people who, because of the nature of the environment over tens of thousands of years, this is the case is that of that environment, then certain things about your brain are going to be elaborated. I'm gonna just use that word, elaborated differently than somebody from a different environment, right? So consequently, even in the hood, there are some brain structures that are impacted and are designed differently, and which lead to different types of disposition, different types of reactions to different kinds of circumstances in the interest of their survival, that other people will say, man, they crazy, man. Well, it may be that there's a brain development that'll happen, which we might even call a brain distortion, but then it's adaptive for the nature of the situation. it's like, you might call it crazy, but it becomes normal for people who have to deal with those kinds of environmental issues. All right. So I'm saying don't dismiss the idea that, certain people are more inclined to X, Y, Z, Z, Y. Okay, let's do another. Hey, look, y'all, it is what it is. Malaria and what's the blood disease that happens with us as Bilalians? Y'all know what I'm talking about. The structure of our man, it escapes me right now. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Any case, meaning that when we were in the place where it called for sickle cell. Thank you, Brother Darren. We said it at the same time. I appreciate it. Sickle cell. When we were in an environment that put that demand on our bodies, then that sickle cell, thank you, man. The sickle cell was good. It's good, right? And a quote unquote an evolved and adaptive response of the body to that particular environment. Alhamdulillah, it's all good because that's what is needed over there. But when the person migrates, is transplanted, or comes into another environment where that is not called for, now it's a disease, right? Now it's a disease. Before it was adaptive. In a different place is maladaptive, right? And so, but because it is biologically grounded and the system is used to producing that, it can't be fixed just, in that person's generation in that location, because it's an evolved condition. All right. So the body does that. The brain also does that. So also you'll find people who think about this now as it goes. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to talk about the wasp completely, but I am talking about. Okay, so now imagine these people that have this particular turn of mind getting on ships, with that mindset, with that brain set, with that body set, and they're going to all different places in the world. They just on the ship, going all these different. Sickle cell is good where it is. Boom, go somewhere else. Now it's a disease. People with this predatory mindset orientation, even though it was a survival instinct necessary for them to survive and win the wars and keep on living where they were. Now you're taking that warlike, whatever else you might want to describe, you taking it around the world.
90 seconds.
So, and that's the world that we have. The world that we have right now is those that have that mindset, which among themselves, in the need to survive among themselves, that's the way you got to think, that's the way you got to be, that's how you survive, etc. But now when you leave that space and you go around to the rest of the world and you still got that same mindset, okay, well, history plays it out differently in that sense. So I'm saying, if you can understand that paradigm, then you shouldn't necessarily be shocked and surprised and doubtful of the proper identification of the unredeeming behaviors from a social point of view. It's like, hey, man, y'all been doing this all around the world. You've been doing this for centuries. And yes, it works for you when you're playing this, playing the game that you're playing in terms of survival, but it doesn't work for the world with regard to the rights that other human beings have with regard to their own resources, with regard to their own self. You come out and you disrespect and disregard all of the humanity of everyone else, and you become a master predator for the whole world. I mean, that's the world we live in. So when someone calls that out, we shouldn't. I mean, in light of, if you can understand what I've said, and I hope some of what I've said has been understandable, it's like you should be upset when people call that out, right? Now, listen, I'm not a complete and total subscriber to Dr. Francis Chris Wilson. I just got to tell you, I'm not so quick, but I'm not totally dismissive of that. I don't subscribe to Yaqub's myth right now, but I'm not dismissive of what it is in interpretation in terms of its value of helping us to have a construction that we can lay on the world and map things out differently. That's what everybody else who's leading a world, that's what they do. Okay, your map says this. Okay, our map says that. You're trying to map the territory of reality. Okay, well, that's the reality the way you see it. I'm going to map it this way because for me, I see it that, and that's really how it works, right? So you have the different maps of the world. Literally, the Peters projection map is the right map for the reality of the globe. The Earth is the Earth, but when people map the Earth, you look at his map, look at her map. You know, it's like, okay, which one is truer to the reality? Well, we're saying now, geologically speaking, that the Peters projection map is. There's another one, I forget the name of the other, the opposite of that map, or the usual map that the world is sold. It's not true to the reality of the nature of creation, but it serves the white supremacist idea, right? Okay, so that's physical maps, physical Earth, but the same way, psychic maps, psychic reality. It's like, whose map are you using for reality? Because you can be walking around in the world, and to some extent, yeah, you can make moves in that world the way it's constructed, but in the context of really moving in reality, you need the real map of real creation, and that means you have to map the psyche of the human being as well. Let me go ahead and take a minute just to read this paragraph. And mashallah, it's your life, so you spend as much time as you want. But I don't, since I brought it up and I said what I said, I want to do this. All right, so this is the article right there, right? Interesting that it comes from Ben Gurion University in Beersheba, Israel. Okay. Talks about the direct injection of venom by a predatory wasp into a cockroach brain, right? So it says, this is the abstract for the research. That's not what follows is my take on the other thing. It says, in this article, we provide direct evidence of the injection of venom by a wasp into, and it's a very important little movie out there called Venom as well, too. Okay. Injection of venom by a wasp into the central nervous system of its cockroach prey. Venomous predators use neurotoxins that generally act at the neuromuscular junction, resulting in different types of prey paralysis. So here's a creature that has the wherewithal to paralyze its prey with neurotoxin. That's what the wasp has the power to do for its or against its prey. The sting of the parasitoid, meaning it's parasitic, meaning it's sucking the life out of something else, right? The sting of the parasitoid wasp, identified as Ampulex compressa, is unusual, as it induces grooming behavior. Yeah, I used to wonder, what they were. Of course, then you follow up, grooming behavior. That is, the creature that it injects with this neurotoxin will clean itself up. That's after it's got that injection, grooming behavior. But translate that into the hood. Hit it quick. Translate that into the hood. You'll put on these donkey chains. You'll put on this ice, so you can be dripping, right? You put on the Versace, the Gucci, the Yves Saint Laurent, the Louis Vuitton. You put that on. All you doing is feeding the predator's family. Moving on. So it induces grooming behavior followed by a long-term lethargic state of its insect prey, meaning it makes you lazy, inactive, etc. I want to be a player. I'm laying, I'm chilling. It's cool, right? Well, that's the lethargic state that comes from being injected with the neurotoxin of the wasp. Thus, ultimately providing a living meal for the newborn wasp larvae. You are going, and your generations are going to be the food for my children. These behavioral modifications are induced only when a sting is injected into the head. All right? Ankh, the key of life, Ankh. Looks like a cross circle on the top. The way that if it's a key, then how do you hold the key? You hold the key by putting your hand in the head part, and then you turn it left and you turn it right. So if I can get into your head and control the way you think, that's the key of life for me. And I turn you to death. I turn you to life to the extent that I need you, and the way that I need you to be alive. So it's injected into the head, right? Neurotoxin, lies, false narrative. Yes, bad music, bad language, bad philosophy, whatever, bad knowledge. I'm all in your head, and I've injected you with a neurotoxin, and your brain doesn't work for you. Your brain works for me. Excuse me. These unique effects of the wasp venom on prey behavior suggest that the venom targets the insect's central nervous system. The mechanism by which behavior modification, I added that. I know it says behavior modifying, but I want to say behavior modification. You need to understand that this music, these videos, these TV series, they are behavior modification systems. Okay? The mechanism by which the behavior modifying compounds, we don't even need to talk about drugs and alcohol. Yeah, that whole drink champions thing. I got to call it out because it is what it is. Like, I mean, it's like you got an alky. You got alky, and it's just like, yeah, you can listen. Everybody in our neighborhood, every hood that we come up with, you could name them right now. You know who the alky was in your mashallah. Y'all understand alcohol is disease and whatever. Come here. That you knew that drunk. Some of us, I know in our hoods, like the drunk dude, he would also have candy. This is when everything was much more safe in the hood. It's like you didn't have to worry about even the dope fiend or the alcoholic dude's going to do some harm or do something wrong. Well, in my hood, I guess I put it like that. But as a general rule, it's like he'll give you some money, he'll give you some candy, he'll talk and make jokes, and it's funny. It's like we kind of came up with that. And sometimes you get from the alcoholic, you do get some deep wisdom in terms of that. I'm talking. I guess I'm talking baby boomer time in the back because I'm decrying that in the sense that you got a platform for one who is obviously an alcoholic, and the justification for their presence, the justification for that platform just is simply an excuse for me to just drink alcohol and talk crazy. Yeah. And that's a thing, right? So the idea of this injection into the nervous system. So I'm saying alcohol, drugs. I mean, come on now, Snoop Dogg. It's like that's normal. That's normal. That's hip. That's cool. That's chill. It's like, come on. That's the wasp injecting neurotoxin into the central nervous system, both psychically and literally, of these cockroach mindsets that have been built up in us so that we can feed the generation of the wasps. That's the creation. So God shows us that, and the creation says, like, okay, you're going to be that kind of cockroach? Or you're going to be, because that's what's happening. So see yourself in that picture. Why you want to be a cockroach? You think it's hip and cool to be a cockroach? And then you get mad at the wasp. Look at what y'all doing to me. Well, you cocked your neck back and gave me the opening for me to shoot you with the neurotoxin. You invited the neurotoxin. You celebrate the neurotoxin. And then you get mad because of conditions that come as a result of taking that? Okay, the mechanism by which behavior modifying compounds in the venom transverse the blood-brain barrier to induce these central and long-lasting effects has been the subject of debate. And speaking of this article, it said in this article, we demonstrate that the wasp stings directly into the target ganglia in the head of its prey. To prove this assertion, we produced hot wasps by injecting them with 14C radio-labeled amino acids, and use a combination of liquid scintillation, Ron could tell you what all these things are, and light microscopy, autoradiography, to trace radio-labeled venom in the prey. To your knowledge, this is the first direct evidence documenting targeted delivery of venom by a predator into the brain of its prey. All right, so I'm telling you, go to YouTube, just put in ruby wasp and cockroach. Just put in wasp and cockroach. You can see the literal expression of what I just read to you. And I'm not gonna go through the whole walk. And they do it with the cockroaches, and they also do the same thing with caterpillars. And so the point is that ayah in the nature of creation is just saying this is what's being done. So the point is, it's quote unquote natural. If you become, it's not from a social perspective and human beings doing it to human beings, it is not morally exemplary or whatever, or it's not good from a human, but it is what it is. And so God tells us, look at this and don't be that and don't be that. But let me tell you, Allah said, let me tell you what it is, but don't be this and don't be that. So you take it as a sign, and from that sign, you get your behavior. That's the creation-supported social logic. Once you know, okay, this is what creation is doing. Okay, so I'm getting my moral direction because God has a way for me to be, and my own soul, my own heart, my own righteousness in relationship to Allah and to humanity says, don't be this and don't be that, or be this and be that, whatever sign it is that you're reading. So you take that creation, that sign from creation, and then you create your social logic to support that. So avoid the drugs, avoid the alcohol, avoid bad thinking, wrong thinking, poisonous thinking. Avoid that, and you won't be a predator in this worst sense, and you won't be a prey in the worst sense as well. So, alhamdulillah. So, thank you, Ryan, for the stimulus of the question, and mashallah, that's what it is today. So, we signing off. I'm going to just acknowledge a few of my folks to check in. Yeah, you got the sickle cell answer. Brother Darren would say the time measurement could explain how we have passages in the Bible saying so and so was 900 years old. Yeah, that relates as well. What else we got? Sickle cell, brother. This is Naira. Pinda carried sickle cell. Yeah, sickle cell gene and the thalassemia gene. Thus sickle cell gene. Yeah, my dear brother Rahimahullah, brother Nu'man. Arman Nu'man, alhamdulillah, he was also of that, and he was also an author, just like Brother Pindar, mashallah, may Allah grant forgiveness of his shortcoming and enter into paradise, inshallah. And also, Abdul Shahid, your presentation makes us realize the phrase, the Lord of systems of knowledge and science covers much more than we first thought. Yes, it definitely does, alhamdulillah. So thank you, may Allah grant us forgiveness for our shortcomings and guide us near to the path even in this. Everybody have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.